Here we go, and we are live. Welcome to Winning the Game of Business Live. It's great to see you, and thank you for those of you who are actually joining me live. Now, today we're going to do something slightly different, but nevertheless incredibly powerful. I want to give you 5 strategic questions, not tactical questions, not quick wins, not tips and tricks, but deep, sometimes uncomfortable, value shaping questions that will cause you to change the way you think about your business. Now, most owners obsess over the next sale, the next hire, the next cost saving, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it keeps you thinking tactically. And if you want to grow your business that's more valuable, more resilient, and far less dependent on yourself, then you need to step into strategic thinking. So today's live isn't about doing more, it's about thinking better. Before we really get into it, I would encourage you to grab a notebook or a pen and paper, because these 5 questions really could alter the entire trajectory of your company. Because tactical questions improve today, strategic questions improve the future. And here's the truth, that the quality of your questions determine the quality of your business. And most business owners never think to ask questions the type of questions that we're about to explore. That's because they often find themselves stuck in firefighting mode. So if you're feeling busy, overwhelmed, or you're too stuck firefighting to think strategically, that's exactly why you need today's session. So let's get into it. I'm going to get into it with question 1. What is my business worth today? So imagine someone walked into your office today and said, name your price. I want to buy your business. What number would you give them? Now, a lot of people panic at this point because they've never thought serious about what actually drives value and what reduces value. What makes a buyer walk away? What makes a buyer pay a premium price? This is where this gets a bit interesting, because your emotional answer might say one thing, but a professional valuation would likely reveal another. Because if you were to really think about the factors that really influence value, it's more about things like, is the business dependent on you? Do you have documented systems? Does revenue come from recurring, predictable income? Are the margins strong? Do you have a team of A players? Is your business growing consistently? What else? Does it have stable cash flow? So let me give you an example. A business owner many moons ago that I met in a networking group, he was turning over £2.5 million a year, and he asked me why nobody would buy him for £3 million a year. And the reason was, quite simply, because the owner was still the head of sales. He was the head of operations, and he was the only one who his customers really trusted. And that meant that buyers weren't buying a business, they were buying him. So your first question isn't what is my business worth, it's what factors are making my business worth more and what factors are making it worth less. Question 2 is, what must change to double my value in 3 years? So let's move forward 3 years into the future and imagine you've doubled the value of your company, not your turnover, the value. What's changed? Now, most people immediately say, oh, we've improved sales, we had a bigger marketing budget, or we got more staff. But doubling value actually comes from stronger systems, better margins, predictable revenue, upgrading the team, removing owner dependency, greater cash efficiency, increasing the lifetime customer value, improved operations. So let me give you an example. A client in the Midlands, they doubled their valuation in under 3 years, not by growing revenue massively, but by building systems that made the business sellable without him. His revenue did increase by 20%, but the value of the business doubled because the business it became investable. So ask yourself, if this business was worth twice as much, what would have had to change for that to happen? Because those are the areas you start focusing on today. Question 3 is a question that often scares people. But what barriers are stopping you from building a business that's 10 times the value that it has now? Now, here's the thing. You're not committing to 10 times in it. You're simply identifying what prevents it from happening. And here's why this question matters, because your constraints reveal your strategy. When owners answer this question honestly, they usually say things like, I'm too involved. I don't have enough leaders. We don't have the systems. I'm stuck in delivering the product. Our margins aren't strong enough. We have too much reliance on 1 or 2 big clients, or we haven't created recurring revenue. You know, I once asked this question to an owner of a construction firm in Liverpool. What we found was their number 1 barrier is they didn't have a second in command, which meant they couldn't grow beyond what the owner could personally control. So, what's your barrier? Capture it, write it down, because the barrier is used to the bottleneck, and fixing the bottleneck is how you can increase the value of your company. Question 4 is, if you were starting from scratch today, how would you build a competitor business that could beat your current business? Now, for me, this is a fascinating question because it removes all the emotional attachment and any legacy thinking. And if you start again today, you'd probably do things like build the business around systems, not around you. You would probably hire differently. You might price differently. You could decide to choose a narrower niche. You might automate things earlier. You might create recurring revenue sooner. You might build a stronger leadership team. You might spend more time on brand and marketing. Now, a client of mine in Yorkshire realised that if he rebuilt his business today, he would never offer half the services that he was offering. Instead, he'd focus on one high margin niche. And when he saw that, he made cuts and the business became more profitable than ever. So, ask yourself, what is your starting again version of your business? And what does it reveal about what needs to change now? And the last question, and this one is powerful. If you hired a CEO tomorrow whose sole job was to increase the value of your business, what would you instruct them to do? Would it be to build a leadership team? Would it be to strengthen the systems? Would it be to improve the margins? Would it be to stop producing low-value products, creating recurring revenue, strengthen the culture? Would it be to push you out of the day-to-day operations or restructure the entire strategy? Now, here's the uncomfortable part. Why aren't you already doing those things? What you tend to find is it's almost certainly most business owners spend their time being the operator instead of the value creator. So this question helps you switch roles from firefighter to architect, from busy to strategic, from doer to designer. Now, a word of warning, these 5 questions aren't meant to be answered today. They're meant to provoke, they're meant to make you think differently about your business. They're meant to shift you from tactical to strategic, because businesses that grow in value year after year are the businesses that are led by owners who think strategically consistently. So here's your challenge. Pick one of those 5 questions and sit with it for a week. Just one, and then write, reflect, think, discuss it with your leadership team, because clarity you could gain could well change everything. And if you find yourself wrestling with these questions, that's good, because it means you're thinking strategically. If you want help working through the questions, building the systems, or designing a plan that makes your business more valuable, send me a message, because strategic clarity is what I help business create every single day. Okay, to recap, think bigger, think more strategically, and remember, a more valuable business starts with better questions. And in my next live, we'll be discussing small steps. Small steps, big results. It's going to be a big one, a good one, and you don't want to miss it. So at the same time, same place, 3:30 UK time. But until then, make sure you keep winning this great game of business.